I produced porn for 9 years. I was a pastor's son. Absolutely hated the church. I turned to porn because it gave me an opportunity to make a lot of money, plus throw it in the faces of the people, from my past. We would recruit brand new models all the time, and these people would come in and they'd usually be college students or something, but over the course of time, you could just see them change. You could just see the life kind of get sucked out of their eyes. And I'm not saying that happens in every case, but it happens so often that you can't escape the fact that lives are being changed for the worse. I was not only hurting the lives of the girls who were modeling for me, but I was hurting the lives of their families. I was hurting the lives of my own family. And actually, toward the end, there's a few things that happened. My little boy told his mom that he knew what I did for a living. And, I tried to act like it was no big deal, but it was a big deal. I have a 7-year-old child he was 6 at the time, and he's sitting there saying, "Yeah, Mommy, I know that Daddy takes pictures of naked people for work." The reason that XXX Church got my attention was because they would come right into the floor of the conventions that we'd have. When you see a group of people standing around handing out Bibles that say Jesus loves porn stars, you're sitting there thinking to yourself, well, this is what I'm thinking to myself. They're probably getting bashed by the church really hard for doing this. Why are they putting themselves through all of this? It was a lot harder to sit there and think, this is all a bunch of garbage, because all of a sudden you're seeing what a Christian should be. XXX Church definitely raises a lot of discussion amongst those in the industry. I mean, it's something that they talk about all the time. They wonder what's going on. It raises questions. It's discussed on the message boards, in the adult industry. They talk about the latest things that XXX Church are doing, especially if something comes out that's, some new news story thing, like, traveling with Ron Jeremy or something like that. People wonder if Ron's being a sellout, and other people say, nah, he's not being a sellout, he's being a good businessman. But the point is that the discussion's being made, and it's getting into people's head, I'm sure, just as it did in mine. The Esther Fund is really important because you can invite someone to leave the industry, but then you got to give them some sort of support. I went from a lifestyle where I got to do pretty much anything I wanted to do, and I had a lot of possessions, to a place where now I live in a tiny little apartment. And the transition, I'm okay with it now, but the transition has been very tough. I had times when I'd be crying so hard that I puked. I'd have days when I'm, definitely drinking too much. Here I am supposed to be a Christian, and you got to have someone to reach out to that's still going to hold your hand when you go through those times. September of 2006, I was driving back along Interstate 5 from Sacramento, where Playboy has an office, a production office. And they'd just offered us $4,000 a day to shoot a new lesbian series. And I'm ecstatic, that's a lot of money. But at the same time, I'm going through this inner turmoil, and I just thought to myself, what, it's got to end now. It's just got to end. And so I basically said, you know what, God, I'm just done with this. This is it. It was 2 weeks later, coming back along Interstate 5 again. And I just said, God, I have all these questions that don't make any sense to me right now about the Bible, about Christianity, but I'm just going to trust you anyway. I gave my life to God that day, and the first thing I did was I called up XXX Church, and I says, I'm out. That's it. I'm done. I just gave my life to God. And the very next day, they had one of their pastors fly out to my house and spend the next 3 days with me, just kind of encouraging me, driving around my area, just looking at stuff. We drove and we talked and we ate and we just basically, bonded, and they were basically saying, look, we're for real. We're not just sitting there saying, great, you're out, you're on your own. Some of the most difficult days I've ever had have been since I've become a Christian, but there's never been a desire to go back and start producing again. And despite the bad days that come, they far outweigh, the peace inside now far outweighs anything that I had before. and it gets better every day. I mean, now I'm going through the process of enrolling in seminary. Isn't that weird? I mean, that's crazy. Here's a guy who used to produce porn, and now he's enrolling in seminary, and upon completion, you know, from porn producer to pastor. What is that? You know, what else happened? I mean, that never happens. Well, it does now. I mean, through God, it definitely happens, and through people actually going out there and doing what he says.